Welcome everybody to the next part of the project. This is where we're going to make the drawers for the tall boy, and as you can see here I've got most of my wood out that I'm going to use for this project or this part of the project. What you see on the left hand side, that's key art wood. That's basically going to be used for the sides of the drawers as well as the bottoms. So the ones you're seeing here is basically just scrap wood I had lying around. Started chopping it up and preparing it to be resawn. And then on this side, the right hand side, this is going to be the front drawer pieces. As you can see, there's two colors there. So the back one is actually red oak and the front one is the mahogany gazebo. So I thought with this I'm going to have an alternative pattern going, basically with a light color and a dark color.
As always, the first thing to do is to flatten the primary face of each board. Here, I'm starting off by eliminating the high spot along the length of the board, or the heel as I call it. I usually find it more relaxing to use my Japanese plane for this task, since it's well suited together with my front plane stop. The last step of flattening the primary face is to check what the level of twist is in the board using winding sticks. Any substantial twist is then reduced by planing the high corners down. With the primary face flattened, I now have to square an edge with it. This will be the secondary face of the board. Now comes the fun part. The opposite face needs to be in parallel with the primary face. Since there is usually a lot of wood to be removed, I am using my scrub plane for the task. When I get close to the marking lines of the parallel face, I use a normal plane to work down the wood to the marking lines. For the key art wood, I'm using my bandsaw to resaw the pieces, after flattening each side as in the previous steps, in order to create thinner boards for the dresser parts. If it was just a few pieces, I would do it via the handsaw, but for a lot of pieces I use the bandsaw, which is the only reason I actually got one. After finishing with the resawing and flattening the key art faces, the main inner pieces of each drawer is then made to a desired size. Here, I'm using my cutting gauge instead of a handsaw to get to the desired width of the board. Now that all the prep work is done, I can finally start marking out and making the dovetail pieces of each drawer sideboard. This step of making the dovetails usually takes the longest, pairing each surface to try and make it flush with the markings. Before transferring the dovetails to the front drawer pieces, I first make sure each one will fit correctly in their slot of the dresser by shaping the top and sides of each drawer face. After the front face fittings are done, I transfer the one side of the dovetails onto the front panels of the drawers, by first sawing out the sides where I can. Now, it is just basically chopping and pairing each pin so that it can fit in its corresponding dovetail. Time to add grooves on the bottom of the front and side boards of the drawers. This is to house the bottom plate of each drawer and to help the plate for expansion. The back is open for the plate to slide in. One last thing is to add chamfers to each side of the front face drawers. I'm using a Japanese plane that is specifically made for this purpose. With the chamfering done, I drill holes for the pull handles to be secured to the drawer faces, with a sinkhole to make the screw heads flush with the board. With all of that done, it is now finally time to glue the drawer carcass together using wood glue. These clamp belts help to keep each drawer tight, as well as to help adjust the drawer to keep the corners square with each other as the glue dries. For the red oak faces, I decided to add a little bit of stain to darken the wood and to give it a bit of a more brown color in order to reduce the contrast with the mahogany wood. With the drawer carcass being glued together, I am busy making the bottom plates for each drawer with the leftover keyard parts that were resawn on the bandsaw earlier. Each plate is flattened after gluing and squared before adding rebates on each side. These rebates are made to fit the grooves on the bottom of each drawer that I did earlier. Each drawer is treated with my DIY Danish oil mixture to bring out the color and grain and then left to dry. After the oil has dried completely, I screw in the pull handles to the drawers. The drawers will have two little pull handles on each side. One last thing to do is to add some stoppers for each drawer to the main dresser frame. I only do this after the drawers are finished so that I can custom fit each stopper to its drawer on the dresser frame. And here is the final result. The lingerie dresser is done and dusted, ready to be used. A quick demonstration is in order. With all the parts in place, i.e. the stoppers, guide bars and rails, a drawer doesn't lock when skewed and is very smooth to operate. If you made it to this part of the video, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.